When you look over in the corner of the church at the plaque over there, our Unitarian and Universalist ancestors have been doing this for over 200 years in Bangor. So this is a real tradition to have our annual meeting. So with that, we'll use Charlie Boothby's gavel to gavel us into the meeting. And the first order of items to do is we'd like to have Drew open the meeting with a prayer, please.
Are we? Yeah, okay, good. Please join me in the spirit of meditation and prayer. Great Universal Spirit, be with us as we engage in this sacred work of democracy and decision-making among our members in service to our members and friends and community in the greater Bangor area. May we open our minds and hearts and listen deeply to one another. May we say and speak our truths in kind and respectful ways. And may we make good decisions, wise decisions that will serve this community, not just for next year, but for many years to come. Amen.
Thank you, Drew. And on the Zoom screen, everyone can see the agenda for today's meeting. We have a number of items to discuss today, including nominations for many of the positions in our church leadership, and also our budget. And we have a number of new business and other items to discuss at the end of the meeting. So with that, our first order of business is to establish that we have a quorum. We have 138 members of UUSB, and our bylaws require that 20% be present for our annual meeting. So let's start, let's start with the members that are on Zoom. All members, people who are members of the church, please type your name in the chat box and hit submit, and that will help us identify who you are and help us to give account of those of you who are participating by Zoom today. And if there's more than one member at your household, please type all of those members' names into the chat box. So those will start to come in, and Carrie will count those. And if some of you are participating by phone, we'll, I guess, see that on Zoom. Excuse me. And we will be able to hopefully identify those people by their phone numbers. If you're not a member of UUSB, you're welcome here today. We really appreciate you participating either here in the sanctuary or at home on Zoom. But our bylaws require that only members can vote, but you are welcome to participate in any other way you wish. If you have questions or comments, want to know more information, please participate, even if you are not a member. On the next slide, which we'll show in just a second, is a list of all of the members of UUSB. And so you can look on that list and determine if your name is there. Now, another thing that will be helpful for you today is to maybe have a copy of the annual report. Next to you, because a number of the items that we'll be discussing and the agenda are in our annual report. And I have to say, this year's annual report was really nicely put together. It was a real joy to read. So the annual report was sent out in a link with the UUSB weekly report. And you can go to that link and click on it if you're at home. There were some hard copies here that were available. And I don't know if there's any other hard copies in the sanctuary right now, but it has all the information that we'll need for the meeting. Kate will be taking minutes today, and we'll be talking about last year's minutes, the excellent minutes that she took in just a moment. And Carrie will be monitoring Zoom. So hopefully we'll be able to do this. This is the first time that we've done a hybrid meeting of this type with people in the sanctuary and at home participating in the meeting. So have we got a count of those present? Okay, so we have
Yeah, make sure you count
31
me.
total. We need 28 members for a quorum. So we have met our quorum.
Yeah,
And we
Catherine,
will
I put in your
proceed with
name.
the meeting. So
Thank
Lori,
you.
if you want to advance to the next slide. Oh, thank you, Phyllis. This is a list of members, and you can check your name up there just to make sure that you're a member. Clarify who our members are. So we'll need to vote several times during the annual meeting here today. And Lori, if you would like to go to the next slide, we have some guidelines for those of you at home on Zoom as to how to vote. So we're going to ask at several points in the meeting to have a vote on matters or items. And we ask those at home to maybe give a sense of your approval or denial. And you can do that by giving a thumbs up or a thumbs down. That will give us a sense as we monitor Zoom as to where we're at with consensus on an issue. If the vote looks close or there's been some contention or different ideas expressed, we'll take an actual vote. Here in the sanctuary, what we'll do, if you want to go to the next slide, Lori, is as we've always done in our annual meetings, we'll ask for a show of hands for or against a motion as we go through the meeting. So a very important thing is for those of you who are at home and on Zoom, if you have questions or you would like to participate in the discussion, you'll need to do that through the chat function that is on your Zoom. And so type your questions or add your discussion into the chat box, and Carrie will be monitoring that. And we will read those and bring that up so that everyone here in the sanctuary can hear that input from those at home. And the last thing is just to make sure that when you're logged into Zoom, that your names are accurately portrayed so that when you ask a question or you submit some chat in the chat box or information in the chat box, we know who you are. So you can take just a moment and make sure that your name is accurately portrayed on Zoom. So I think that is everything that we have. You can go to the next slide, Lori. Oh, you are already there. You were one thought ahead of me. But when you are submitting information from Zoom, another thing that would help is just to put your name into the comment. So the example there, hello, this is Carrie O'Brien. I would like to say that, or I would like to ask this or that. Just use your name in the chat, so it makes it easier for us to know who you are. Okay, now I think we can go on with the business that we have on our agenda. Are there any questions? Does anybody have any questions on how to participate? Okay. Oh, well, I can repeat the question. Catherine Foxon is on the phone, And she's inquiring whether we can hear her comments incoming from from the phone. And I don't know the answer to that. Yes. Okay. Yep. Yes. So yes. So we can hear you if you're on the phone, and that will be coming back to the folks that are operating the Zoom from the back of the room, and they will repeat your question or comment so that everybody here can hear that. So yeah, that will work if you're calling in on the phone. I guess I had
Thank
another
you.
question too for the folks in the back. If you take yourself off mute when you're on Zoom, can we hear you? No, no. Okay, no, we can't. So if those of you participating from Zoom, you'll need to use just the chat function to communicate with us. All right. Any other questions? Okay, I think we're ready to move on. The first order of discussion is to approve the minutes from last year's annual meeting. They're found on pages 4 to 11 in the annual report. I found them very complete. They're very well done from last year, so get a really good sense of the items and the business that we discussed last year. So are there any clarifications or corrections to last year's minutes? I don't see any here in the sanctuary. Oh, yes, Valerie.
Hi, I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know if there have been some corrections already done between the time this got printed off and this hard copy. But when you look at the minutes from page 6 to page 7, there's like a gap missing there. And I don't, so there's an incomplete sentence at the end of 6 and it doesn't really carry. And page 7 at the top doesn't logically follow from page 6. So sorry, I didn't catch this sooner.
It was the bottom of 6 to the beginning of 7.
Okay, so it appears that there's I'll read it so that everyone knows what we're talking about. This was as we were discussing the budget, and it regarded comments from Lori Cartier. And it says, Lori Cartier commented that pledge did not reach the hoped for amount, but that we need to be aware of how insufficient the worship, and then sort of blank. So we're missing some information there. I think if I recall from last year, Lori commented that the worship committee needed additional funds last year. And I think that was the sense of her comment. Lori's back there. Would you like to comment, Lori? No, she just says that was correct. So that just probably a few words missing there. Kate, is that something that you can fill in for the official record? Okay. We'll just pause while Kate is looking that up to see if there was something she had captured in her minutes that just didn't make it to the annual report. Well, Kate's looking that up. Are there any other questions or comments regarding last year's minutes?
Oh, yep, it looks like there's one. So it looks like one sentence must have gotten cut off on the bottom of that. And then it continues into the next at the most. So it says here, Lori Cartier commented that pledge did not reach the hoped for amount, but that we need to be aware of how insufficient the worship budget is. So it looks like it was worship budget are the two
Okay.
words that are missing from the carryover.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for clarifying that. Thanks for pointing that out, Valerie. All right. Any other questions, comments about last year's minutes? Do I have a motion to approve last year's minutes as amended with those couple words? I see a couple of motions to,
I move that they be approved.
okay, and a second. Okay, there's several. And you can also move a motion on Zoom as well by chatting into the box, or second a motion on Zoom as well. So do that if you so please. So with that, we have a motion to approve last year's minutes. All those in favor, raise your hand in the sanctuary. On Zoom, sort of give a thumbs up if you approve. Or
Yes.
is there anyone who disapproves? March, do you approve or disapprove? Okay. All set, I think. All right, so moved. We have approved last year's minutes. We got an item of business completed. All right, the next item of business is to vote on the staff and committee reports in the annual report. And those are found on pages 14 through 49 of our annual report. Takes up most of the report for last year. So all of the committee chairs are asked to submit reports on what they've accomplished in the last year, what items that they addressed, and the business of those committees. That's all in our annual report, and hopefully you've had a chance to review those. Are there any clarifications or corrections to committee reports or staff reports that are in the annual report? I don't see any hands up in the sanctuary,
I'm not seeing anything on Zoom either.
and Carrie is seeing nothing in Zoom. Any corrections or clarifications? Okay, nothing coming in on Zoom. I think we're ready for a motion to approve our staff and committee reports. Does somebody want to make that motion, please? Rosemary. Okay, Rosemary made a motion to accept these reports. Is there a second? Number of seconds in the sanctuary here. And all those in favor, raise your hand in the sanctuary or sort of give a thumbs up on Zoom. Very good.
Yes.
And any that disapprove, a thumbs down or a notification here in the sanctuary. I think we have unanimous approval.
I'm not
Other-
seeing any opposed.
Okay, so nothing coming in on Zoom. Very good. Another item completed. Our next item of business, an important one, is to acknowledge the work of the nomination committee, who has been very busy working, communicating with the congregation to find leaders, a new set of leaders willing to join the various committees and council that we have at UUSB. And so before you on the screen here and the screen at home, you have a list of the various folks who have agreed to serve on different committees. So I will read through these, and I think what we envision doing is we will have a bit of a discussion about these after I'm done reading them, but we will vote on the full slate once we've completed our discussion of all of the different nominees. So for council, which is, I believe, a 3-year term, we have Francis Gray and Franny Wilson Cherrick, who have agreed to serve on council. I will note that there is one person who was not able to serve, and so we have an open space on council, which we will come back to and look for nominations. So be thinking about that if you would like to serve on council or you would like to nominate someone. Tracy Haskell has agreed to fill a 2-year seat on council, and Deb Chapman a 1-year seat on council. For our clerk, which is a 1-year term, Jessica Glant has agreed to serve. Our treasurer, which is also a 1-year term, Rosemary Parsons has agreed to serve. Our general endowment trustees, which is a 3-year commitment, Brenna Guinan has agreed to be on our general endowment trustees. Myself, Mark McCullough, has agreed to serve a 3-year term on the Hersey trustees, where I currently serve. And on the nominating committee, which is very important, the folks who make sure we can fill these positions, Dave Patterson and Joan Rickert have agreed to fill a 3-year term. So that's our slate of candidates. And Carrie, did you want to speak at all to the council position that's open? Sort of a bit of a last minute change from those of you who might be looking at your annual report compared to what you see on the screen here.
Yeah, so we did have one person that had made a commitment, but then realized that really couldn't fill that role. So we will have a spot open for a 3-year term. And Phyllis, did you want to say something?
This was not about council. It was about the stewardship campaign and the pledge committee. I have served on that. This is the end of my 4th year, as has Connie McVeigh. We have been under the leadership and amazing, enthusiastic energy of Amy Starkey Lamb, and Connie and I are stepping down. So we have at least 2 slots on the stewardship campaign, financial stewardship. And I am pleading with any of you who've never done this to consider, because it's actually fun. Amy makes it fun. We come up with some great theme ideas, and it's a lot less work than in the past. And we really would love to have some new blood, maybe some younger people in the congregation who really get to understand what it means to encourage people around money. So we're really very needy right now with those. We leave probably 2 people.
Yeah, thanks, Phyllis. The pledge committee is not an elected committee, so anyone can do it. So if that's something that you're interested in, definitely sign up for that. That is a lot of fun and really important to the UUSB as well.
And I thought she was going to mention something about council. That's why I went over immediately. So the council is a 3-year term that we're looking for. We meet the 3rd Wednesday of every month, and it is via Zoom. So they do tend to be fairly long meetings, but at least it's via Zoom, so you don't have to worry about traveling back and forth. So we're definitely looking for someone to help make all the decisions for the congregation. It's a good team, so. And it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun, and it's a great team. So
So thanks,
I have a
Carrie. So with
question.
that, I will open the floor for nominations for a 3-year term to council. Yes. Okay.
She said,
The-
I have a question. What's your
Yes,
question?
I
Catherine?
do.
Okay.
That Valerie Carter has term ends in 2023, but she's in again for 2024. So is she like, I don't understand why she's there in both years.
She's inquiring why Valerie Carter is in 2023 and 2024. What are you looking at, Catherine?
I'm looking at the paper copy for nominating committee reports. Members and nominees. And Valerie
Okay,
is
so
on
Catherine
council.
Foxon is calling in and asking, yes.
It was a typo,
So we
Catherine.
have a typo
Okay, thank you.
as far as our nominations. So. Yeah. Okay. So if you look at the council appointment, the slate of nominees, Valerie is on this slide once, but in the annual report twice. And Valerie just clarified that she's on council. She's not being a new nominee or voted for today, but that she is on the slate for to serve through 2024, correct? Yeah, very good. Yeah, so thanks, Catherine, for pointing that out. So back to where we were just before Catherine called. Are there any nominations from the floor? And that could be folks here or folks participating by Zoom for nominations for someone to serve on council.
and it looks like Joan Ellis said that those on Zoom cannot see the full screen that shows all the names. It's been fixed. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so that's been fixed. Any nominations? And I think it would only be fair if the person were here to accept that nomination. Okay, Rosemary.
I would like to nominate Joan Ellis. So how can she hear that? She can hear that, right?
I believe so, but I'll repeat it just in case, is that Rosemary has nominated Joan Ellis to serve on council. Joan is participating via Zoom, and maybe, Joan, you might want to just jot a few words in your chat box as to whether you accept that or, okay, so Joan declined that nomination. But thanks for considering anyway. Anything else, Carrie,
No.
from Zoom? Okay, I think what we'll do then is vote on the slate of candidates that we have before us. And this particular slot on church council will remain open. I'm sure the nominating committee and the council will be looking for somebody to fill that important slot. So do I have a motion? Anyone from the nominating committee here or from council, a motion to accept this slate of candidates?
I move that we accept all candidates as listed.
Is there a second? Okay, a number of seconds. All those in favor? Thumbs up at
Yes.
home or hands up here in the sanctuary? Okay, and we're counting.
and 1920,
All set?
21, 22.
We're still counting Zoom votes. We've counted the votes here. Thanks. You can put your hands down in the sanctuary. Okay. There's no negative votes, all positive. Thanks for everyone who agreed to serve on committees, and the motion is passed. We have a new slate of folks that are serving in leadership positions. Yay. Our next item is the budget. And I would ask Rosemary or Carrie to come forward and present the budget. So Rosemary's reviewing the budget that you're seeing at home and is on our screen here in the sanctuary, and she confirms that that is correct. So Carrie, I'll let you take the budget discussion forward.
Well, I don't know if you were here for the budget meeting, but we went over it kind of a little bit more in depth. But we do actually have a balanced budget this year, which is great. And we even have already gone over our auction, what we estimated. So we're a little bit ahead of the game, which is awesome. But with this, though, we still haven't, unfortunately, raised any of our staff's wages, which is unfortunate, and it's been a few years since we've done that. So we really need to think about that, especially going into the next year. We're going to need to make sure that they get raises, especially as the world is turning into what it is turning into and everything is going up. We need to make sure that our staff have livable wages. So just keep that in mind. Is there anything on this that anyone might have any questions about?
Yeah, so
Or did you
no
let you know?
questions at the moment coming from those participating in the sanctuary. I'll let Carrie take a look on Zoom to see if there's any questions.
Nope.
Oh, so we do have a couple of questions here in the sanctuary.
Yes.
The budget is on pages 12 and 13 in the annual report.
Hi, this is Wendy Erickson. I chair Building and Grounds. I just, excuse me, this is more in the way of a comment, but on page 20, it explains a little bit about the capital fund for building improvements. And the pending projects at the very bottom is a very fluid list. And I think that most people might be aware that there is a task force and we really just sort of got started on looking at the building. So this is, the pending projects list will be going up for sure, but it's a very fluid thing because it depends on how much money we have to fix things and over which time period. So it is a little misleading in that regard, but we're working on it.
So this is on page 20 of the annual report, a summary of the capital fund that's been collected and a list of projects that are needed to be done at some point in time. Yes, Rosemary.
I would like to present a friendly amendment to the budget, and I'm going to read what's here. The Budget and Finance Committee met Friday morning to review the finance report and realized an oversight on our part to include an expense line for the social justice program, referring to this budget. While it's late into the current fiscal year to address this omission, for currently, we want to propose the following amendment to this FY23 budget. We would like to increase the revenue under other income, non-designated donations, which is down there, as you see, the first item under other income. Undesignated donations are usually Vanco payments to the category general fund, which at this point so far this year is up above $7,000. It's budgeted there for 35. So I think we can safely predict a little more money there. So we'd like to increase that line by $600 and add, yes. I'm talking about the budget, but what I'm reading is not in the annual report, okay? So we'd like to increase the non-designated donations line by $600 and then add an expense line for social justice program of $600. So I feel confident that we will have the funds, we will have that revenue, and it is definitely important that we budget some money for social justice issues. So that would add $600 to the budget, both revenue and expense. And Budget and Finance is the group presenting this.
So this would be a friendly amendment to the motion before us, which is to accept the budget that's in our annual report. And we'll have some discussion here in a bit, but basically it's to add $600 of undesignated donations and then to add an expense of $600 for social justice work.
Under any of these categories is an allocation for soup kitchen, which presumably will start up again this year, I hope.
Yeah,
So-
to make it a little clearer, because Rosemary wasn't in front of a mic, there are thousands of dollars allocated to social justice for food programs. That's in the budget currently. This money was needed to cover dues to FLIA and Mooson and other places, kind of some of the more administrative expenses or whatever, but the food programs have always been in there.
Thanks for that clarification and for the good question, Pat. Francis has a question in the back.
Okay, so two-part question. So am I to understand that right now there's no budget line right now for Social Justice Committee? Okay, so okay, and my second part is,
Okay.
I know we're talking about during Pride celebration, which I think is maybe that's in this fiscal year, but I'm just thinking, is there a possibility some of that might be spent on the going towards the effort of UUSB being more involved in the annual Pride celebration? Okay, that's good. I just curious.
Okay, and so just to repeat what Rosemary said, so everyone can hear that, is that the expenses for the Pride celebration expenses are included. Okay. And the first question was about Yeah, why don't you speak? Yeah, the
Sure,
food
I'll
program.
use the mic. The food programs expenses are not, okay, the Social Justice Committee does not really have any involvement in the food programs. So that is budgeted completely separately. And like Sue McKay said, this money under the Social Justice Committee expense would cover things like Pride Parade, dues to Musan and FLIA, and things that the Social Justice Committee is involved in. Several years ago, they said, don't put the food expenses under us because, they're run by other individuals.
Okay, are there any questions coming in from Zoom or comments related to the budget?
I do not see any.
Okay, we have another question here, John.
Yes, thank you. No, I just had a question as to what the identity of contractual services under other personnel is. I see that's listed separately from building services, so contractual services. Thank you for elaborating what that is.
The contractual services cover the cleaning services, because they're an independent contractor, and the bookkeeping services, and Kara Starr, the bookkeeper, is an independent contractor. We put them in personnel, but they are not, they're not employees.
Okay, I don't see any other hand. Oh, yes, we do have, Chuck has a question.
And from Zoom, Linda Sisson has the worship expenses line increased this year. Has it?
Oh.
Oh, okay. Is it?
Can you tell by the written copy? Okay, Phyllis says worship didn't change, and she would have her eye on that. Yes, I would like, yeah.
Point of order, what's the status of the friendly amendment? Do we need to vote on it?
As soon as we were finished with discussion, I should have done this initially, is had a motion come forward from council to accept the budget. I was about ready to ask Carrie to do that and to ask her whether she would accept this friendly amendment. So since that's come up, I will ask you to make a motion and say whether you would accept the friendly amendment to add the social justice piece.
So I make a motion that we do accept the budget with the friendly amendment that has been suggested for social justice.
Is there a second? Okay, we have several seconds, and I will open it again for any other discussion related to the motion and the friendly amendment. We've had some good discussion already, and just one more chance in case anyone has any other comments or questions. Seeing none, I think we are ready for a vote. So all those in favor in the sanctuary, raise your hand. All those at home,
Yes.
indicate in the chat box, yes or no. I think we have a count from the sanctuary, so you can put your hands down.
I've got 26 yays, 26 yays.
And are there any opposed at home or here in the sanctuary?
Not seeing any.
Okay, so a unanimous approval of the budget. Thank you. That's worth a gavel. Very good. We have a budget for the coming year. Okay, so as is tradition, next in our order of agenda items in our meeting is to talk about rites of passage and coming of age. And we have a lot of announcements there. And I don't believe Karen is here. Is there somebody from the RE program that, and Drew, are you going to do them all? Okay, so if you would come forward and do our rites of passage and coming of age, would appreciate that.
Okay, there, I'll just do them right from here, and that way, hopefully, we won't have microphone interference. So this year, we had quite a few rites of passage that happened in our community. We had no child dedications this year, but we did have 4 or 3 young people in our coming of age program, and we'll be celebrating that at the service on June 5th, I believe. Lily Eubanks, Beatrix Bloom Foster, and Jordan Seavey. Bridging this year, we have Atticus Foster, Kyle McClellan, Lily Seitz, Simon Sokolow, and Zachary Spring. And with great sadness, we recognize the loss of some of our dearest members, including Sue Maggio, Maria Francis Hotilla, Charlie Boothby, Becky Anderson, and Dolores Eckrat. Let us hold a moment of silence, of celebration, and of sadness. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Drew. Our next order of business is other or new business. And I know that council has some new business, but before we go there, keep going, Lori, in your slides. Oh, I think we need to go forward. Up, back one. There. I think we should acknowledge our new members too. And I'll read those names because we're just thrilled to have these new folks join our congregation. Lisa Clausen, Jessica Glant, Marshall Smith, Eleanor Steele, Eric Strong, Andrea Walton, Kim Wellacadage, I should have Niche Wellacadage, and Franny Wilson Cherrick, and Kyla Worthington Strong. So it's just wonderful to have such a great new group of new members join UUSB.
And I believe we actually have 3 more joining in the next week or 2.
Fantastic news. So welcome to them. And you've already seen several of their names on some of our leadership lists or serving on different committees or on council as well. So thanks to all of them. So I think it's time for Carrie or someone from council to talk about some other exciting things happening with UUSB. And Lori, you can go to the next slide, which will queue up some of those items.
Yeah, so we are looking for some GA delegates. It can be either in person or via Zoom. It's going to be June 22nd through the 26th. Generally, it's going to be between 12:30 and 3:30 Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. But there's going to be other things happening throughout the time as well. I am going to participate this year. This will be my first time, so I'm kind of excited about that. But if anyone else is interested, You can email me, call me, and I would be happy to hook you up. Does anyone have any questions at all about it?
I guess I have a question.
Yes.
Normally, we're restricted to the number of people we send to GA. So with this new
I-
format, is there any
I don't
restriction
know if
on
there's
number?
restrictions.
The
The answer
restriction
is
is
no,
how
we're
many
still
are
allowed,
voting
I believe,
delegates.
3 delegates from our congregation. And this is a chance for us to, participate in our denominational activities and represent our congregation at the continental level. And I also want to let people know, if you've never attended, one of the things that the UUA is doing a much better job of is they actually have webinars so that you can on your own learn a little bit about how to serve as a delegate. So it's not so overwhelming. It's actually something that's manageable.
Drew, just one last question. I assume there's an agenda or
There is a
that's
very
online
clear
with
agenda. There's
UUA.
also, in addition to the general sessions where decisions are made and whatnot, there are also a series of workshops and several special activities. The WARE lecture, is it? Can you remember somebody knows who it is? Kendi? Something Kendi, the woman who wrote the book Cast that our Social Justice Committee have talked a little bit about, isn't it? At any rate, if someone can look it up. But at any rate, there's that. There's a service of the living tradition where we recognize ministers who have gone into preliminary fellowship and full fellowship, and ministers who have retired and passed away. So there's several wonderful activities that are going on, and you need to be, some of them are available to everybody, but a lot of them you still have to be a delegate to be able to participate. Carrie wanted me to point out that if you are interested in serving as a delegate, there is potentially some money available to help defray the cost of participating as a delegate, so you don't have to dig into your pocket for the whole amount. Right now trying to travel out to Portland might be a little tough to plan, but for online delegates, I think it's safe to say we could probably cover the registration fees for that. So.
Excellent. Thanks for that summary and good information.
And Tracy Haskell commented that she thought it was a great educational experience to serve as a GA delegate when she did it. And Joni said it's Isabel Wilkerson is the author of Castle or Cast. That's not correct. No, she was just pointing out that she was the author.
Okay, I think we've discussed the GA opportunities, which are pretty exciting, and hopefully we can have a full slate of delegates. Lori, I think we can go on to the next slide, please.
Well, I think Catherine Foxon also had a question about voting in GA delegates, but I don't believe we actually vote them in. I believe people just volunteer. And council will approve. Yep.
Okay, good clarification. Some more exciting news coming up here. Carrie, you want to talk about this as well?
Yeah, so Reverend Drew is getting ready to go on a very well-earned and deserved sabbatical. It will be starting in February. It'll be for 6 months. So we've kind of started a small group of people that are going to be working with him and all the different committees that he's involved with to figure out what we're going to do while he's gone, figuring out, getting different guest ministers in. We already have, what is that minister's name that's going to be working with worship and pastoral care? I thought it was Margaret. Okay. Oh, okay. Well, we are working on getting a minister specifically, especially for pastoral care, so that if anything needs to be addressed while he's away, we will have people that can fill that role. So it's going to be a huge thing, but we do need to start thinking about all the different ways that he has a hand in this community and figuring out different ways that we can fill those roles while he's gone and not make it so that things start to fall apart. I think we're going to do a great job. So and we've already started work on it because it's going to take a lot of planning because he has many roles that he fills here. And I think that's pretty much it. But he's been here for 6 years. So, and I believe it's what, every 3 years or 4 years that you're allowed to go? Every 4. So it's well deserved. Does anyone have any questions about what we have coming up with his sabbatical?
It'll be February through July of 2013 or 423. The other 2013. Boy, yeah, that before I even started here. Yeah. Interesting. So yeah, no, 23, February through July 23.
23 next year.
Okay, any other questions on sabbatical? I'm sure that that'll be something that'll help to recharge Drew's batteries, which is great. And we'll do fine here at UUSB, I'm sure.
And I have a note from Joni Ellis that she can't see the full screen. Thank you.
Okay, they got it. The crew, the expert crew in the corner back there has that. Okay, and Lori, can you go to the next slide, please? This has already been brought up, I think, while we were discussing the budget, but there's other activity going on with funding here at UUSB, and that is to, well, it's actually, it's been going on for years, is to establish a capital fund and looking forward to a capital campaign. So I'd ask council or Rosemary or someone to present a little bit more about that, what we're doing and why.
This capital fund report is to let you all know what's been going on. This was started in 2018 when the trustees donated $40,000 to start this fund with the agreement with council that $5,000 would be added the first year and then $1,000 more each year until it got to 10. So next year we are putting in
8,000, I believe.
8,000.
Yeah.
Oh, or we put in 8,000 this, we put in 8,000 this year and we're putting 9,000 in next year. And this is just for information, just so people know what's been going on. And yes, I do agree with Wendy that the pending projects is, that was my creation. Just, you know, to point out some things that needed fixing. My priority list. And there is a committee, a capital improvement committee that's been meeting. We've met 2 or 3 times. We've gone through the building, looking at things, and we will prepare a list in priority so that we don't end up with a flood in one end of the building as we did in the SE space. because the building, the brick had been ignored for so long. And I would, yeah. So, as I say, this is for information.
Rosemary, I guess I have a couple questions. Will the committee prepare a report for the congregation? And a second question, are we headed towards an organized capital campaign in the future to raise funds beyond what council has been doing here?
I would turn this over to Patty Woolley, who was the, who is really the brains behind this project.
Okay, so Patty will comment on
I'm not
this
sure
thing.
about the brains, but the Capital Needs Assessment Committee will be preparing recommendations for the council. And the council will review those recommendations and affirm or rearrange priorities and make a plan around what the projects will be for the capital fund next year and ongoing, and what, if a capital campaign is something we will entertain. Obviously, it's not wise to consider a capital campaign while the minister is on sabbatical. So we are looking at lining our ducks up in a row and being prepared for when Reverend Drew returns from sabbatical, and we can begin the real work of a capital campaign if indeed that's the next step.
Excellent. Thanks for that clarification. Sounds like there'll be a lot of very good fact finding going on in the next couple months. Very good. Any other questions related to the capital fund? I don't see any from here in the sanctuary. Anything from Zoom? Okay, none from Zoom. So there's no issue that we really need to vote on here with any of these topics that we've just discussed. Are there any other items of new business that need to be brought forward at this time? Anything more from council? Carrie?
Not that I remember.
Okay, good. Anything else? Nothing from the sanctuary that I'm seeing? Anything from Zoom? Okay, so I think that order of business is completed, which means our meeting is coming to a close and we can all go and enjoy the rest of our day. But before we do that, I'd like to ask Reverend Drew to come forward and offer a closing prayer, and then we'll adjourn.
I'll stand over here by the chalice. And I just want to thank Kate Dutra, Mark, Carrie, and Rosemary for putting together a wonderful annual meeting agenda along with visual aids. It's so nice to be able to look at budget numbers on a big screen where you can almost read them. And that's really, really helpful. And I love this picture. That picture was taken in the sanctuary the day, May 1st in 2016, when you called me as your minister. So I love that picture. I'll never forget that day as long as I live. So please join me in the spirit of meditation and prayer. Spirit of life and love, we have come together, as is our custom at this time of year, to conduct the business of this beloved community. We are grateful to all the people who have contributed to creating the agenda, all the people who have served in leadership in the last year, and all the people who have been visionaries and thinking not just about the year in front of us, but the future of our community, long, long into the future, of looking for ways to improve our building, keep up with the maintenance, and look for new opportunities for us to continue to grow and be a beacon on the hill here in Bangor, Maine, not just for ourselves and for our own growth, but for the community that surrounds us as well. Thank you. We have much to be proud of, and may you go in peace. Blessed be.
Thank you, Drew. And do we have a motion to adjourn? Wendy, and a second, and all those in favor? Okay,
Yeah.
thanks everyone for staying after church today, and go out and enjoy your day.